coming to you live here from the Atu Island range. Coming around up. Real quick. We are here today live with Sparkling Tuna Cup number 29. I cannot believe there have been 29 of these so far. I am, of course, your host, Yaku of Yakuzaku, and with me today is... you all, lovely viewers in the chat, will be joining me on this particular journey. We are going to be kicking things off with a little bit of a TVP. It is, of course, going to be on Ancient Cistern. We're over here in the bottom left-hand quarter of the map, spawning all the way in this bottom left-hand quarter. We, of course, have our red Terran player coming out from the land of Germany. You may know him as Spemikpatpos, but we know him as Slayer. Currently teamless, as far as we can tell. And over here in the top right-hand quarter of the map, spawning all the way in the top right-hand quarter, we have our yellow Protoss player coming out from the land of Ukraine. Somebody who is known by many names. You may know him as the Cat Girl, you may know him as Sly Crab, but for now, representing Hot-Headed Gaming, he is NightPhoenix. That will never get old, playing that fanfare, let me tell you. Now I'm the one with the production. But speaking of production, things are fairly standard coming out here from both of our players. That's one hell of a segue, but that's what we're going to be going with. A nice little Reaper expand coming up from Slayer. Something that I do kind of feel has been getting off of fashion a little bit lately. You know what I mean, chat? You know, nowadays we're seeing a lot more factory expands. We're seeing a lot more Hellion openings and whatnot coming up from our players. That's cute. Over here from NightPhoenix coming down with the Bob Tassa spray. Good old classic from the days of 2018, I believe it was. And speaking of the good old days of 2018, proxies were common then and are still common today. What exactly does NightPhoenix have in store for us? We'll have to figure out. I will say, it's a little bit of a delayed proxy, all things considered. I mean, he's still spending gas on stalkers, gas and minerals, mind you. You know, he's still getting a shield battery back at home. A key thing, though, is he has not expanded. And Slayer, let's take a look at his vision real quick. I really don't think he's been able to dive deep. Okay, well, he saw the production over here, so yeah, this is looking like a pretty standard delayed Nexus opening from NightPhoenix until you look at this additional gateway and this robo facility coming down. Not something too common nowadays. I feel like a lot of Protoss players, you know, usually when they go for a proxy, it's one or the other. Gateway, Stargate, or robo facility. But NightPhoenix, he says, you know what? ¿Por qué no los dos? Why not go for a gateway as well as a robo facility? Really curious as to what this robo facility is for, and we do have an answer. Tis the NightPhoenix. Come on. You got two Bob Tosses right next to each other, but I do like what he's doing with the probe. He's making it as annoying as possible. You know, this is obviously meant to be a bait coming out from NightPhoenix, but throwing down the sprays just, you know, irritates Slayer a little bit. NightPhoenix now diving in with his stalkers. I feel like he's diving in a little bit prematurely. There is another bunker back in the back lines. There's a tank out available as well, but here comes the Immortal, able to tank the tank hits and able to bust down the bunker. What does Slayer really have to fall back on? Not a whole lot. He's gonna have to lift up this base at the very least. And even then, I don't think he has anywhere near enough defenses. The tank now goes down, and there's just nothing Slayer can really do to mitigate that. GG is called, and NightPhoenix will take a very, very quick game number one here. with a little bit of an unorthodox proxy, but one that really worked out for him. As I said, maybe it's not the most efficient proxy to go for. You know, he did spend his gas early on. He did... Oh, got a second lobby going on there. He did spend his gas on Stalkers early on. He did go for a second pylon back home. But that really sold the story to Slayer, if I do say so myself. Yeah, I think Slayer was really tricked with that. I was kind of tricked with that as well. And he wasn't really sure what he was up against until 6 Stalkers were beating down a bunker. But that was game number 1. And we will be getting ready to go into game number 2 to see how Slayer responds this time. I'm hoping that Slayer fights fire with fire. I'm hoping that, you know, we saw a gateway robo facility proxy coming out from NightPhoenix. Now's the time for a proxy tank Slayer. That's what I'm hoping for. But we'll see. As here we now have it loading into Royal Blood. We're here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, spawning all the way in this bottom left-hand corner. We have our yellow Protoss player coming down from the land of Ukraine. He, of course, is going to be representing Hot-Headed Gaming, and he took a very hot game number 1 with a proxy. He is NightPhoenix. And over here in the top right-hand corner of the map, spawning all the way in the top right-hand corner, we of course have our blue Terran player coming down from the land of Germany, currently teamless. He is Slayer, or Spemik Patpos. Whatever that means. Unless it's all one word, Spemik Patpos. No, that can't be it. I'm imagining they're all like, you know, Spe is short for something, like specialist. Wait, maybe we can figure this out. Spe, short for special. Mick, short for... Mickey Mouse. Pat, short for... This is way too cryptic for me. I'm spending way too much brain energy trying to figure out a name, when really, I should be looking at this lovely Bob Toss spray coming out from NightPhoenix. It's kind of unfortunate that sprays don't block buildings, but I guess you can't all be lucky. And speaking of Toss, we do have a Zealot making its way across the map, making it even more annoying for Slayer to get that expansion up and running. As NightPhoenix, that's kind of what he's hoping for, having another probe out in the middle of the map once again, kind of selling a story to Slayer, trying to really say that, hey, I'm expanding, you know, I'm getting my tech, you don't have to worry about proxies, I'm getting my robo facility back home. It's back home. You don't have to worry about immortals or anything like that. Of course, if you're a Terran player, you know, you would be pretty worried about warp prisms regardless. And as it turns out, that probe isn't throwing down a pylon or anything like that. It's actually coming in to aid the Zealot a little bit. Couple more SCVs being sent down by Slayer just to try to chase this away. It's really difficult to, you know, try to deal with a single Zealot when you only have a single Marine, when you don't have a bunker. Now that the Adept is in play, it's going to be a little bit more tricky as well. I like that NightPhoenix, you know, didn't go too bloodlusted. He didn't go deep and try to assault the mineral line or anything like that. The name of the game right now is just delay. Delay this expansion for as long as possible. Meanwhile, back home, just get a Warp Prism. Okay. I was thinking that with this natural base of NightPhoenix, he was looking to go into more of a macro game, but apparently not. NightPhoenix, he wants these games to end quickly. It's unfortunate situation here for Slayer. Gonna have to give up that CC, or apparently not. With the power of the Cyclone, he is able to chase away the units of NightPhoenix for how long? Long enough. He will have to throw in a repair eventually, but at the very least, he doesn't have to cancel that CC. He doesn't have to try to remake it. Well, for the time being at any rate, as NightPhoenix not using his Warp Prism to reinforce just yet. He doesn't really have the production to warp in reinforcements yet. So instead, just using it for a little bit of micro potential, you know? When you don't have Blink, you might as well lift. That's advice from the early days. Cyclone, once again, the absolute MVP right now for Slayer. And we'll be able to chase away this Warp Prism, but what about the rest of these units out here of NightPhoenix? There are only 2 Marines and 1 Cyclone available for Slayer. Unfortunately, I don't think he really realized how committed NightPhoenix was going to be to this assault. He was getting a Raven and whatnot. You know, he was thinking ahead, and because of that, he kind of stumbled to the Phoenix in front of him. GG. Very nicely done here from NightPhoenix. A very quick 2-0 victory to kick things off. And with how this is all lined up, he actually does have an opponent available for him in Nicorakt. So we're going to have another TVP to witness here pretty shortly. It's kind of unfortunate here that these games that we've had were so quick. I would have loved to have seen more of what Slayer really has, what Slayer can really pull off in a bit of a longer game that he seemed to want to go for, both in game number 1 and game number 2. Unfortunately, he was up against NightPhoenix, the slyest of crabs, the cattiest of cat girls, and he doesn't really do long macro games, especially not today, as we've just been informed that apparently he has an exam eventually. So, yeah,